Hello students, hope you are doing well, and I welcome you in this day 3 of PM Performance Management Practice to Pass webinar, which is being organized by ACCA for September 2022 session, and I am your trainer Haris Hanif. This is my WhatsApp number. You can notice this, my WhatsApp number as well. All right, so this is day 3. In the previous day, in the last day, we had covered throughput accounting, we had covered lifecycle costing, and in the day 1, including day 1 and day 2, we had covered activity-based costing, target costing, lifecycle costing, and the throughput accounting, right? And now we are going to solve CRQs kind of questions, because we had done with case OTQs kind of questions. So first of all, do tell me students whether my voice, screen and video is all clear to all of you. Am I audible? Can you please confirm me? Am I audible? Can you see me? My voice, video, screen is all clear? Please reply in the question box, all of you. All right, if you people can go to the handouts section, there are handouts attached, and there is a Word file as well. You can copy it for the WhatsApp link and for my Google Drive link as well. And in that Google Drive link, I had uploaded the handouts, and whatever the files I am annotating, I will be uploading there. Will you people please confirm, all of you, whether my voice, screen, video is all clear? I don't want answer from 2-3 students. I want answer from maximum students. Can you please confirm me, students? Please be interactive. All right, that's great. Now we are going to start with our next topic, and the next topic is about the linear programming. Yes, first we are going to start the linear programming, and we will be solving it. And I am intended to solve one case OTQ for this as well, and no, not case OTQ, one CRQ, which is attached in this file. All right, so linear programming is assumed to be the challenging topic for the from the side of the students. So I have selected this thing, and then thereafter we will be moving towards the performance measurement section. But right now we are here. For the linear programming. Now see that what is actually linear programming. Linear programming, as it is written, that it is the graphical technique. It is the graphical technique which determines optimal production plan in the presence of multiple constraints. What are the constraints? Constraints are actually barriers. Barriers, you can say, constraints are limiting factors. Constraints are limiting factors, right? Constraints are limiting factors. And when there are limiting factors, the barriers, so that means constraints are limiting factors or the barriers, that means demanded units cannot be produced. Demanded units cannot be produced because of the constraints, right? Because of the constraints. Demanded units cannot be produced. Why? Because of something limiting factor. And it might be possible. Listen, that when you were learning the throughput accounting, there are constraints, there are barriers, right? And those constraints, we are experiencing only one constraint. Either labor is short, either machine hours is short. And when you are solving to the marginal costing system, material may be short even, right? But it quite may be possible that company would be experiencing multiple constraints. That means, let's say for example, material is short, labor is short, machine hours are short, more than one constraints are short, or more than one resources are short. So the point is that in the graphical, it is the graphical technique. The linear programming is the graphical technique which determines the optimal production plan in the presence of multiple constraints. And these are steps of linear programming, right? These are steps of linear programming. And These are the steps. Initially, it says that assign variables to the product like X and Y. Secondly, establish constraints. Now, establish constraints, this is a very critical step. This is a very critical step. And in this step, you are supposed to draw the constraints. You are supposed to draw the constraints. And one more important thing, if this step will go wrong, this step will go wrong, the step of constraints, then it quite may be possible the complete journey of linear programming may be wrong. The complete journey of linear programming may go wrong if this step is not performed well. But point to be noted is that it quite may be possible that this constraint would already be drawn and given into the question, and you are supposed to interpret the things, right? So it is saying that establish constraint and also non-negativity. What do you mean by the term non-negativity? Non-negativity is that your units cannot be produced. Units cannot be produced in negative, right? That means X comma Y, either it will be greater than or it will be equal to 0, right? So assign the variables to the product like X and Y. For example, the company is making 2 products and it is a graphical technique. Yes, it's a graphical technique. So there will be product X and there will be product Y, right? So these are the 2 products. These are the 2 products and only we will be having 2 products because of the linear programming. And so here Nawal Mushtaq, your concerns have been noted, and let's see the time availability, because performance measurement area must be touched, which I'm going to discuss it today, and the topic which you mentioned. Let's see based on the time availability. I will try my level best. All right. So there are 2 products, and that is assign variables to the products, establish constraints, and non-negativity. Objective function. Objective function of the company is to maximize the profits, or you can say maximize the contribution, because if contribution is maximized, ultimately the profit will be maximized, like maximizing the contribution. Number 4, plot constraints on the graph. One more important thing to be noted is that there is a graph of CVP, there is a graph of linear programming, there is a decision tree in the risk and uncertainty chapter, and these are the things which you are not supposed to draw. This will be available in the examination. This will be available in the examination, and you are supposed to interpret after or before the graph what is the calculation or how it was drawn, right? So you are not supposed to draw the graph, you are not supposed to draw the decision tree, since this would be given into the in the question, and you are supposed to interpret, or you are supposed to write the things after the graph, right? So establish constraints on the graph, plot constraints on the graph. Then you have to identify feasible area. What is a feasible area? Feasible area is actually the area which is common of all the constraints, the area which is common of all the constraints. And then you have ISO contribution line, and ISO contribution line is given on the graph. Now what is ISO contribution line? ISO contribution line is that it is the line of the imaginary contribution, and it helps to identify the optimal production point. I repeat, it helps to identify the optimal production point. ISO contribution line will be helping you out to determine the optimal production point, right? Optimal production point. So this ISO contribution line will be given on the graph, and it will be used to identify the optimal production point. All right, and then there is a point, determine the optimal production plan and the contribution. Optimal production plan is, that is from the available constraint, what is the best optimal production plan? So the optimal production plan is the best production plan, best production plan within the available resources. Within the available resources, what is the best production plan, right? What is the best production plan within the available resources? So this is the thing. All right, now we are moving towards the moving towards the question, and the question is already attached. The question is already attached here in the handouts section. Faisal Abdullah, yes, I'm trying my level best to cover the CRQ and see that one CRQ will be covered. One CRQ will be covered, and I have extracted from 2016 past exam, and yet it is also available in the ACCA practice platform. There are practice questions, and this is the question from your past ACCA exam. So Abdullah Rashid, it quite may be possible that it may not be covered, because after this thing I will have to teach you people the performance measurement. That is a very important section. There's a very important section, right? So I cannot assure you regarding your mentioned topic, which is the relevant costing, because many of the students are demanding their own topics, which you people are right at. But according to my point of view, that considering the exam focus area, I did cover the costing area, and I will be covering the performance measurement as much as possible, so that the core areas which are definite to be examined must be covered. And this is the linear programming I have selected based on its complexity. It will not take much time to solve this question. This is the example. ABC Limited had correctly applied the linear programming. ABC Limited had correctly applied the linear programming and found the optimal point of the production at point M on the graph, which is the intersection of two constraints. You are required to calculate optimal production units, right? You are required to calculate optimal production units. This is product X and this is product Y, right? This is the constraint of material, the constraint of labor. If I can say that this is the constraint of, let's say, direct material, and let's say that this is the constraint of direct labor, let's assume. So this is the point, this is the point M, this is the point M, which is the intersection of these two constraints, and you are supposed to calculate the optimal production units. See that you don't know X, you don't know the Y, you know nothing about X, you know nothing about Y, and you have to use the simultaneous equation method. You have to use simultaneous equation method in order to solve this optimal production point, right? And all right, now see that this is the optimal production point, and remember one thing, that when these two lines are getting intersected, there is an optimal production point according to this example. So we need to solve these two equations simultaneously. It's your schooling study that you have studied this thing in your schooling mathematics, that how to solve these two equations simultaneously. So first of all, I will be writing 1.5x plus 2y is equal to 4000. That is my equation number 1. 3x plus 5y is equal to 9400. That is equation number 2. When we solve these two equations simultaneously, we use the simultaneous equation method, and we use the elimination. We use the elimination method. Now see, what is the use of elimination method? just select any one variable, either X or either Y, either X or either Y. All right. Now, what you're supposed to do, you have to select either X or you have to select either Y, and you will have to multiply. For example, that I am selecting X and I'm multiplying this with this. That is, the first variable will be multiplied by the entire equation, and the second will be multiplied by the first entire equation, and the signature of the second line, the signature of the second equation would be changed. But if it is plus, it will be minus. If it is minus, it will be plus. How? I will be using different colors so that you would be able to understand this concept. So I'm now writing here, that's multiply equation number 1 by 3. Multiply equation number 1 by 3 and equation number 2 by 1.5. So I will have to multiply equation number 1 by 3 and equation number 2 by 1.5. The complete equation. Why? To make this particular variable the same figure, and then the sign of the second equation would be changed. So I'm now using the calculator to multiply it. It's 1.5 multiplied by 3, that would be 4.5. 6y, that is 3 multiplied by 2, and that is 12,000. That is equation A. And getting this thing, it would be 7.5y, and there would be 9400 multiplied by 1.5. That would become 14,100. And in this simultaneous equation method, the signature of second variable would be changed. The signature of second variable would be changed, right? So it would be deducted, minus, and that's known as the elimination method. That you have to select which particular variable you want to eliminate. I selected number 1. All right. So it's now plus 6 minus 7.5. It would be minus 1.5 is equal to minus 2100. So this minus and minus would be cancelled out, and y would be 2100 divided by 1.5. So y would be 2100 divided by 1.5. Y is 1400, and that means units, right? Now you can select any of the equation, either A or B, and you have to place y in either of the equation A or B. So you will be getting x. So I'm now writing here, place y is equal to 1400 in equation A, that is 4.5x plus, or you can even choose equation B, equation 1, equation 2, that's totally up to you. And it is 6 y 1400 is equal to 12,000. So it would be 4.5x plus 8400 is equal to 12,000. Now I need x. So it's 12,000 minus 8400 divided by 4.5. So this is 12,000 minus 8400 divided by 4.5, that is 800. So what do you mean by this thing? This is your optimal production plan. This is your optimal production plan, right? 1400 and this. So your optimal production is X and Y. 800 and Y 1400 units, right? So I have solved this question. Now, after solving the linear programming, there are some other things as well. That is slack, binding constraint, shadow prices. All right. Now, what is that thing? If I can show you the imaginary graph which I have drawn here, the optimal point is the intersection. The optimal point is the intersection, right? It is the intersection of these two resources. That means at this point, no resource will be left. That means whatever the resources, that is 4,000 material and 9400 labor hours, they are completely used. because this is the intersecting point and there is no resource available, right? There is no resource available. All these resources are completely used in order to make these units, that is 1400 and 800. Yes, it's x is equal to 800 and y is equal to 1400, and the optimal point is the intersection of these two resources. All right. Okay, so there is no resource available. After using that optimal point, there is no resource available. It is 100% utilized. So that means this is the indication, this is the identification that on the graph, on the optimal point, not above, on the optimal point, on the optimal point, the resources which are getting intersecting, that is a binding constraint. And binding constraint means these resources which are 100% used. Now I am going to write this thing, that material and labor, they are intersecting point. All right, they are intersecting point, like that way. Let's say for example this is point M. Okay, so this is DM, DL, and this is DM. So the resource which is on the optimal point is the binding constraint. So what does it mean? It is actually showing that direct material and direct labor are both at optimal point. That means they are 100% used, nothing left. So these two are called as binding constraint. These two are called as binding constraint. These two resources are binding constant. Binding constant are those resources which are completely used, all right. Now let's say for example if some resource is still available, I am writing just as an example. Let's say this black line is of machine hours. Now this is above the optimal point. That means after using the linear programming, that is after using the linear programming, right? See this arrow, see this arrow. That is after using the linear programming. After using the linear programming, the machine hours are outside. They are outside the optimal production point. So that means this is the identification. This is the indication that there are still machine hours available even after the linear programming. After the linear programming, the resource which is still left is known as the slack, right? And let's say for example this is the demand of X. This is the demand of X. It is still not meeting. So there is a slack. There is a slack as well. Slack means, there are two meanings of slack. Either it is unused resources after the optimal point, or you can say slack is something which is the unfulfilled demand after using linear programming. And the identification of slack is on the graph. On the graph it is above the optimal point. This is the identification that this is above the optimal production point, right? So what is the slack? Slack is actually unused resources, or you can say unfulfilled demand after the optimal production plan using linear programming. So I hope that you had noticed this thing. Now I'm moving towards this exam question. And this is the question I have extracted from September 2016 CSC company. But before going to start this question, I want to show you this ACCA practice platform. Even though you people are already aware of this thing, that how to log in this. So I had already logged in to my ID, and this is performance management. When you will have to click on the plus sign, this is ACC official resource, past exam library. These are past exams available over here. This is practice exams, practice exam 1, practice exam number 2, and this is specimen exam. Most of the questions are from the past exam papers, and I recommend all of you that you must need to attempt your practice questions at this platform. So, and you can see that I have already assigned here. I have already assigned it. That is SP strategic professional. I do teach AAA as well. I do teach AA as well. So that is why I had already assigned this to show to my this to my students. And I want to show you practice exam number 2. That's resume. Practice exam number 2, that I am resuming this. I'm going towards directly the CRQ 2334. No, this was not the thing. This is not the question here. Wait, it might be in practice exam number 1. Yes, this is the question. This is the question of the CSC company, and I have already covered it here, but the platform is must to be displayed over here, so you people should think accordingly. In order to use this my digital scale, I'm using this my window. All right. So, but you must need to focus on that practice platform as well. I will be typing my answer over here on this practice platform. I will be typing my answer over here, or even I can use the simple word. I will be doing it copy and paste over here, so that later on you people will be having my typed answer as well. So this is the question, but still I'm just solving this part C requirement, right? Only part C. I'm solving this only part C requirement. This is the complete question, and I am not going to solve this part A and part B, since this is not the scope of this concern matter. So if you can see that I have extracted this question, and it is a linear programming part. Right? So I am going, when I will be needing the scale. So you people can simply do it on the scale by putting up the scale, your finger or your calculator, whatever you can use on the screen. But how does it work? How does it work? How does it work? I will be using that. All right. All right, Aurangzeb Iman. I will be showing. I'm actually the chat box is not always open, because I need to open it after a regular interval of time. So okay, you can see it here. Here it is. All right. See this thing. Done. Okay. Thank you so much for your patience. Now here, this is the Slack, and now I'm going to solve this question. I will be tapping that over there at my ACCA practice platform. Okay. So in order to use the practice platform, I had opened that screen, but I will be solving only part C, because it is related to the linear programming, right? So it is starting from here several months later. It's starting several months later on. So let's read this question. Let's read this question from here. This section is related to part C requirement. This scenario is related to the part C requirement, right? So I am reading it here. You can adjust your screen accordingly. Then you can adjust your screen accordingly in order to type your answer. So let's move over here. I think the key is pressed. All right. Oh, I think there might be some error. Just wait, I have to log in it again. It's practice. Number one. Okay, so this is the requirement for part C. All right, the requirement is for part C, and it is saying that several months later, the demand for both cakes and cookies. Will you people please read this question till here, till the constraints had been drawn? I can simply open my PDF file as well, but I want you people to read this from this platform. Please read this question. It might be available over there. It might be available over there. All right, see that what is written. Several months later, the demand for both cakes and cookies has increased significantly to 20,000 and 15,000 units per month respectively. However, I think you have read this question, all right, and you can go to the next thing. The question will remain here, and your answer would be typed here. This is part C requirement, right? Part C requirement. Now going to open this PDF file of the same question. But I just want you people to encourage you people to practice on that platform so that you will be able to handle this in the exam. Several months later, the demand for both cakes and cookies has increased significantly to 20 and 15,000 units per month. However, CSE company has lost the contract with Encompass Health and after suffering from the further shortages of supply of beta, singa, and of its labor force. Now, beta and singa, they are the materials. This is DM1 and this is DM2, right? This is DM1 and DM2. And of its labor. CS company has decided to stop making shakes at all. CSE now needs to use linear programming to work out optimum production plan for cakes and cookies for the coming month. The variable X is cake and Y is cookie. And this is the graph already formulated, already drawn over here. And it is written the following constraints have been formulated. The following constraints have been formulated and a graph representing the new production problem has been drawn. Singa, beta, labor. And these are the constraints of demand. These are the constraints of demand. These are the constraints of, this is my DM1, my DM2, all right, and this is my labor, and this is 1 and 2. 5 constraints over here, 5 constraints. Now the graph will be a little bit complex, and this is the non-negativity. Non-negativity is not plotted. Non-negativity is not plotted on the graph, but it throws the meaning that x and y, the units cannot be produced in negative manner. And obviously it does make sense. Either the units will be produced, either it will not be produced at all. So units cannot be produced in negative manner, right? So this graph is already drawn over here. The graph is already drawn over here. I'll appreciate you. I'll appreciate you, the one who is asking for the specimen. If you can focus on this running question, it will be furthermore better. All right. The one who is asking for the specimen exam, your attention could be diverted if you will be diverting to the next question. If you please focus on this question, it will be better for you to understand. Thank you. Now, it is saying that Singa, beta, and labor are all the constraints. Now this is the cake and this is the cookie. This is the cake and this is the cookie, right? This is already drawn. Now what's next? What we have to do? This is the requirement. This is the requirement. Number one. Explain for 4 marks. Explain what this line is on the graph is and what area represented by OABCD. What area is representing by OABCD? All right, OABCD. The area OABCD, that is area O, A, B, C, and D. O, A, B, C, and D. You know what this area is actually showing? This is the feasible area. And what is this line? This yellow line. Can anyone tell in the question box? What is question box? What is this yellow shaded line? That's very good. It's the imaginary contribution line. Number one, you are not supposed to draw this line. It will be available in the question. It will be available in the question. You don't need to worry about it. It will be available in the question. So this line is the ISO contribution line. All right. This line is the ISO contribution line, and 2.6 is the contribution of X and 1.75 is the contribution of Y. And this line is used to identify the optimal production point. Now how it will be used, it is the second part. It is the second part. How this will be used, it is the second part. So this is saying what is this line, explain what is this line and what area representing by OABCD. The area bounded by OABCD is actually the feasible area. And remember one thing, at this feasible area there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 dots, and at one point this is the optimal production point, and at one point there would be the optimal production point, right? So I will be writing my answer over here in this practice platform. All right, so I'm not typing my answer over here. I'm not typing my answer over here. You are not supposed to copy it on the PDF into the real exam. You have to adjust your screen accordingly, right? So I'm writing here, what is this line? I'm writing here for part 1. The line C is equal to 2.6x plus 1.75y is the line of ISO contribution, is the line of ISO contribution, which is the imaginary. And obviously there is a function, there is a way, there is a process to draw this line. But right now it is not asking and so you are not supposed to write even, because this line will already be available in the question. The line is the line of ISO contribution line, which is the imaginary contribution, line, and 2.6 is showing the contribution of product X, and 1.75 is showing the contribution of product Y. All right, and this line is used since it is asking for the explanation, and this line is used to identify the optimal production point in the area OABCD. You are not supposed to write in this specific requirement that how this line will work. I am not going to write that thing, because it is the next requirement in the area OABCD, which is said to be the feasible area and the common area of all the constraints and at one point in the feasible area there is the optimal production point, and the optimal production point is that point where you are earning the maximum contribution, right? Where you are earning the maximum contribution. So I'm typing here with the optimal production point, from where maximum contribution can be earned. Now I have typed my answer here. I have typed my answer over here, simply explaining that line, the ISO contribution line and the individual contribution, and what is this line showing and what is the area of OABCD, right? So I have written all this with the explanation. Now the second point is that explain how the optimal point plan will be found using this line, and identify the optimal point. It is saying that identify. What the question is saying, identify. And remember the rule is that, now listen, assuming focus on my body language as well. Focus that there are constraints, that you are bounded by constraints. Okay, let's say this is the constraint, this is the constraint, this is the constraint, and this is the constraint, and this is the constraint. There are three constraints. All right, this is the constraint which is at the top level. That means you have to pass on to the constraint, and in the graph the extreme far point is the optimal production point. Now how the function begins, you have to put your scale. Let's say there is no scale available right now. This is the scale. You have to place the scale in and you have to move in line with the ISO contribution. You have to place the scale ruler. Yes, you have to place the scale on ISO contribution line. See how, when this question would be available, you can use your finger, even your docket, even your scale, or any kind of a flat thing, right? And you can place it on the computer screen. If it is not allowed, so you can simply sense it. But see that how I am applying over here. That is why I have extracted this onto my PDF in order to make you people better understand. Now if you can see that I'm now going to use my digital scale over here. This is the scale. This is the scale I have placed on the, but remember that it should exceed your X and Y axis, so that it is easy for you to move. This is the scale, right? This is the scale I have placed over the ISO contribution line, and move upward. because the maximum point you will be going, you will be achieving the maximum production, and the maximum production will help you out, to achieve the maximum contribution. Okay, so I have placed this scale over here, and see that point 0 is already below it, so it's eliminated. Now moving the scale upward, point A is touched. Okay, point B is touched. Okay, point C and point B and point C, now point B and C, they are close enough. If you can critically watch it again, I am moving it in its upward direction. Move above. Point 0 is already left. A is touched, forget it. B is touched, forget it. Move upward a little slow. B and C, B and C. B is touched and C is touching at the end, and C is getting touched at the end. Do you understand this thing? C is touching at the end, so C is the optimal production point. C is the optimal. Using the ISO contribution line, and this is the method. You will placing the ruler scale on it and moving in its upward direction. The extreme far point at the, or you can say the point which is at the extreme end, is the optimal production point. Okay, so what you will be doing over here, I'm showing you once again. This is the scale I have placed. 0, O is touched. This is the scale moving upward. A is touched, D is touched, B is touched, and C is at the end. Right? So I will have to write this thing, that the ISO contribution line, C is equal to 2.6x plus 1.75y is used to identify the optimal production point by placing the scale, that is ruler on it and moving in its upward direction, the extreme end, or you can use the word far, or the extreme far point is the optimal production point, which is the point C, at this graph. And now the answer is not completed yet. Point C. Now focus on point C. Now I am removing all the dots, or let it be. I am just highlighting point C. Point C is the intersection of, see that point C is the intersection of this line, this yellow line, that is the demand of cookie, and this line, which is the labor constraint, right? So point C, because this is the line of Singa and point C is the line of labor and the demand for cakes. All right, so you should write this thing, but you are not supposed to solve, because the question is not asking you. No calculations are required for this, because this 4, 2 and 4, the complete 10 marks is for the explanation of the linear programming. And since most of the students are not performing very well in the theoretical aspect, that's why I have selected this question. So here I need to write that, which is a point C at this graph, and this is the intersection of, demand of cakes line and the line of labor constraints, right? So I have typed this answer. Now for part C, what's the part C? You can read out the requirement from here. Explain what slack value is. It's for 4 marks. Explain what slack value is. What is the slack? I have noted down over there, and you have people have noted it. I have to write, explain what slack value is, and identify from the graph where slack will occur as a result of optimal production plan. Now I need to open up my this screen. What is this slack? Slack is the unused resource and unfulfilled demand. All right. Now identify the slack. This point C is the optimal production point, right? And move outside it. If I can move outside, I am seeing this line, the above this line, beta. This is the slack. Okay. I am moving outside this line. I found this singa as well. Yes, this line singa, it is also the slack. If I'm moving upward, this is the demand for cookie. This is above demand for cookie. That means this point A is the demand for cookie, and my optimal production point would be this units, but the demand is this unit. So that means the demand is still left after the optimal production plan, right? So there are three slack in this specific graph: the singa, the beta, and what is the indication? That they are outside the optimal production point, right? And the demand for cookie, you can see that this is the demand for cookie. This is the demand for cookies. All right, this is available over here. This is the demand for cookie which is available here, but the optimal production point is less produced. So demand for cookie and singa and beta, they all are outside the optimal production point, so they are the slack. Yes, Lamin, the last point touched by the ruler is the optimal point. You are right. All right, so now I will be going to my practice platform once again, and first the question is saying explain what slack value is. Now see that what is the slack value? What is the slack value? I am writing here slack is the resource. Which is unused or remaining after the optimal production plan, or it is also the unused demand, that is units, or it is also the unused the appropriate word is unfulfilled demand units after the optimal production point, right? And it is identified, on the graph it is identified. How does it identify? It is identified that slack is identified outside the optimal point. It is identified outside the optimal production point identified outside the optimal production point after the optimal production plan. You can use the word that is above the sorry for that, above the optimal production point. And from the graph of CSC company, the singa beta all are outside, and the demand for cookie is still to be left to meet. So therefore these are the slack. And what is the binding constant? I'm just asking for the knowledge purpose. It is not the part and parcel of the question. Can you people type can you people answer here what is the Binding constant in this specific question. What is the binding constant? Can you people please type? No, Shushmita, the binding constant will not be the demand. The binding constant is always the resource. No, Fatma Yusuf, it's not intersecting. I'm explaining you. Yes, Aurangzeb, you're right. The resource which are fully utilized. Fan Bang Soon, it's not labor. Yes, it's labor, Javeri Akil, it's labor. Fan, yes. Fan Bang Soon, it is labor, right? Fatma Yusuf, you have asked, sir, C is the intersecting beta, isn't it? No, not at all. This point C, you can notice that. Just observe it very carefully. I'm doing it zoom. It is point C, right? Point C is the intersection of this line, and this is the line of labor. Singa is above, and this line is also above beta. All right. So this is the point. And Shushmita, cake cannot be the binding constraint. Cake all the way it is touching, but binding constant is always the resource. So I'm writing here, labor is on. I'm just saving this document as well and will be uploading it on my Google Drive link. So just for your understanding purpose, labor is on the optimal point. Labor is on the optimal point and it is the binding constraint. All the way it is not being asked here. The question is only asking for the slack. All right. Muhammad Talan. Binding resource is material which has a restriction to fulfill the demand. No. Binding constant is that resource which had been fully utilized for the optimal production plan. That is, after meeting the optimal production plan, there is no availability. I've explained it 3 times. Okay, for you, Aurangzeb, I'm explaining it 4th time. Labor is on optimal point. Labor is on optimal point. Optimal point is that this is the optimal point, and at this point, your labor is fully utilized. There is nothing left. There is no left, and the resource which is fully 100% utilized is the binding constant. I have even typed written over here optimal production point on the graph. All right. So now, is it now clear? Aurangzeb Imam and Fatma Yusuf, is it now clear to you? Gaurav, I have already typed that answer. Did you join late, Gaurav? Gaurav, did you join late? How to find the optimal production point? You have joined late. I have already explained that thing. Fatma, is it now clear to you? Okay, no problem. I can understand. Okay. Now here, this is the thing. So optimal production point has been completed. I have written the answer. I will be sharing my answer. All the way recording will be available on ACCA Pakistan YouTube channel. And so now the slack is the resource which is unused and the thing. And from this graph of CSC company, the resources Singa and Beta are outside the optimal point and above it. That means these resources are still available after the optimal production. and the demand of cookies and the demand of cookies are still left to be fulfilled. That means not met all the demand, and so demand for cookies, Singa and Beta are slack, right? And I'm not going to copy this answer which I have typed on the platform, copying over here. All right, I'm now copying over here so that this answer can be shared with you people later on. So I have typed this answer. All right, so I can share this answer as well. It's from the question of September 2016. September 2016. I have saved this answer, and congratulations, we have completed one CRQ. We have completed one CRQ, and now I'm going to open up the next PDF file, which is also attached in this handout section. And I am now moving towards the performance measurement section, right? I'm now moving towards the performance measurement section, and that is too much important section, right? That is too much important section. That is the performance measurement. That's the performance measurement, right? Now, first of all, I should close these windows of the linear programming. Now let's focus on to the performance measurement section. Student, this is the performance measurement section, and from the performance measurement section, the entire section, from the entire section, I cannot assure, or even nobody can assure you that which topic specifically would be examined from this specific section. But from the entire section, based on certain topic, 20% is the weightage of CRQ. That is, one CRQ would be definitely being examined from this. One CRQ would be definitely being examined from this section, performance measurement. Now you should need to understand the deep inside what performance measurement actually is, and so that you will be able to understand it and then write your answer accordingly. But first of all, the basics are very important, and see that what is actually the performance measurement. Performance measurement is something that the now in this specific question, in this specific section, your analytical skills should be used. Now there is the drawback of the students, that they are simply in search of the important topics, that tutor will tell which topic will be examined, how it would be examined. You just need to have a rote learning and pass the exam. It's not very easy all the way. It's not difficult. It's something challenging, and this is the demand of the paper, that you people should think outside the box. You people should think outside the box. You are not supposed to have a very knowledge based kind of the mindset, that tell us this question, the formula, the recipe to pass the paper. It's not always the case. You need to have your good analytical skills. In order to understand the concepts, in order to better learn and understand the concept, and in order to apply the knowledge, apply skills. That is why this module is called as applied skills module. This is not the knowledge module, this is the applied skills module. You need to apply. And in every case study, there are different industries. Let me give you the example. In the previous 1-2 session, there was a question of a charity-based organization, and you have to assess its performance. Charity-based organization, and you have to assess its performance, right? In the second thing, there is the online retail store. It was examined. In one particular year, it was examined of the, yes, saloon, the hair saloon, the saloon and the beauty parlor for ladies. This was a saloon. The case was examined. The question was examined of accountancy teaching company. You might be learning as your ALP, so you have studied it from the school. So there are many kind of real businesses which can be examined, and you have to use your commercial sense. You have to use your commercial acumen sense. Commercial acumen means you have to think like a businessman, and by going through this section, you should assume yourself that you are at that senior position. You are at the senior position in the organization, and you have to look down. You have to look down that what performance is going on, and you have to measure the performance. All right. And performance measurement means that it involves assessment of the past performance of the organization. Assessment. That means you need to evaluate. Yes, Mr. Prasad Patel. Yes, I'm going to start this performance measurement section. Yes. I hope it is now clear to you. Yes, Mr. Prasad Patel, it's now clear. Okay. So it involves assessment of the past performance of the organization. The point is that why to assess the performance? The question is that why to assess the performance? Why to assess the performance? Can you people type? Why to assess the performance? Can you people type here why to assess the performance? Yes. Because the money is of the shareholder. Yes, absolutely right. Absolutely right. Yes. Absolutely right. Yes, yes, yes. Yes, exactly. In order to assess, okay, that's good. That's good enough. Now I'm going to write this thing. Yes, exactly. You are writing a very smart answer. I'm really impressed. Why to assess the performance? That is to analyze whether target is met, to analyze good or poor aspects of company. That means strength and weakness. And simply is that in order to improve the performance for the future. Improve the future performance of the company. You need to improve the future performance of the company, right? So this is the performance measurement. And what is the performance measurement? I have told you. Why? Why to assess the performance? To improve the future performance. Why to assess? Why to analyze? Moving next. How to assess the performance? The point is that how to assess the performance. How? The answer is through KPI. What is KPI? That is key performance indicator. KPIs means that is key performance indicators. Now, what are KPIs, or you can say the key performance indicator? I will be explaining in my next upcoming slide. Next, critical success factor. What is this critical success factor? But before going towards this critical success factor, I want you people to have a very quick look on this KPIs. I need to have a very quick look on this KPIs, right? What is KPI? KPI is actually the indicators. They are the indicators, right? They are the indicators. Key performance indicators are, if I can say you in very simple language, that these are the factors noticed. These are the factors noticed to analyze the performance. These are the factors noticed to analyze the performance, right? There are two KPIs, financial KPIs that you need to measure in monetary terms, and they are financial ratios. I will be moving towards this critical success factor later on, but here I need to move on for the KPIs. KPIs are actually the factors which you are identifying in order to assess, or you can say in order to analyze the performance, right? It's a non-financial KPIs as well. Non-financial KPIs. What are non-financial KPIs? Examples. The quality is a non-financial. Delivery time. For example, I have ordered something in the through internet, and they are saying 4 days will be taken to deliver, but they are taking 7 days. Obviously, as a customer, I will be saying that your performance is not good. IT support system, sales return, number of complaints. If the complaints rate are getting more and more from the last year, so that means your performance is not good. Customer waiting time, like on a call center, if you are putting on hold for too much extended time, so that is not acceptable by the customer. The customer will be saying your quality is low, or you can say the service is not good. Staff behavior, especially when you are talking about the restaurants. For example, the menu is too much delicious and tasty, but the staff behavior is not good. So what you will be saying, what kind of a services you are operating? Your staff is not having manner to how to talk. So this is also the, because in the service industry, it matters a lot. In the service industry, it matters a lot, the staff behavior. In many of the organizations, this is the part of the standard operating procedure, that you must have a smile on your face to deal while dealing with the customer. You should reflect the positive vibes to the customer. And the staff behavior is one of the important aspects. You should not be frustrating from your facial expression. And this includes in standard operating procedure in many organizations, which are continuously dealing with the customers, because nowadays every industry is getting very competitive. Anyways, way of answering on phone calls. For example, if somebody is calling me and I'm a call center agent and I'm dealing on the phone call, let's say, so how I am addressing the wastage rate, idle time, rejection rates of units, that means faulty. Cleanliness, think of a restaurant, yes, for example, satisfaction of the staff, and I am writing, etc. There are many non-financial KPIs, but one important thing is that non-financial KPIs ultimately impact to the financial in the longer term. That non-financial will ultimately leave the impact to the financial. Let's say not today, later on. Let's say not today, later on. If my non-financial performance is not good, for example, I'm ignoring the customer complaints. I'm ignoring the customer complaints constantly. Even after 1 month, 2 months, or even after a year, my sales would be expected to be reduced, to be very honest, because I am ignoring the most important part, and that is the customer complaints. So non-financial aspect leaves the footprints over the financial, right? So this is the thing you should notice and consider in mind, that non-financial factor is of equal importance. Moving upward, what is critical success factor? Critical success factor are actually those things on which the company must perform well. Company must, I'm using the word must, perform well in order to run the business. In order to run the business, the company must perform well, right? The company must perform well in order to run the business. Can you people please once again, I'm writing here, in order to run the business, right? Can you people please read this thing once again, so that we can relate this thing? I'm assuming that you have read this information. Now I have given you the time, 1 minute window, to read this thing, because why? Because we have to relate critical success factor to the KPIs. To the KPIs, we have to relate this critical success factor, right? Now I'm going upward in the previous slide, that those things on which the company must perform well in order to run the business, right? These are critical success factors, and these are fundamental factors. These are fundamental factors. Now listen, I'm just giving you one or two examples. There is a restaurant. For a restaurant, which area is must to be focused on? Can you people write here? There is a restaurant. Think practically. How the restaurant will survive in the long term? Yes, the quality, the food, the menu, the quality. This is the critical success factor. And critical success factor is that the resources. For example, that there is the institute, there is a running college. They should have a good faculty. Good faculty is a critical success factor. The quality of notes is the critical success factor. All right, now there is a restaurant, and the restaurant is at the quality, hygienic factor. All these things are the critical success factor, right? And these are the things to be focused on. And in order to measure CSF, there are KPIs, right? So in order to measure these things, there are what? Yes, there are KPIs. So for a restaurant, example, a restaurant, for a restaurant, there should be the, for a restaurant, there should be the good quality, the quality of food. You can say the menu, you can say the environment. All right, now the point to be noted is that KPIs are actually KPIs are actually measuring the CSF. KPI actually measures what? CSF, right? So critical success factor is that you should be good at particular thing, and its measurement is KPI. Its measurement is KPI, right? Now I am now moving towards the next slide. I am now moving towards the next slide, and there are some important rules to measure the performance. There should be target which should be attainable. Obviously, the target should not be ideal. The target should not be ideal. It should not be ideal. They should be the attainable target. Performance must be compared. You cannot say that my performance is good or bad. You cannot say until and unless this performance can be compared. And now the performance can be compared with past. The performance can be compared with the competitor. The performance can be compared with the budget. These all are the aspects. These all are the aspects. And one important thing, whenever you are analyzing the performance, your comparison should be like with like. For example, if I will be establishing my let's say technological products, and I'm comparing myself with the Apple or Samsung, it's not comparable. Although I have got enough money, for example, because they have got the brand loyalty, they have got the good market standing, so I cannot compare my industry with that old and established giants. So the comparison should be like with like, and for us it is the same activity level. Comparison should be like with like, right? You should use multiple KPIs, both financial and non-financial. Use controllable factors to judge the performance. That's most important thing. For example, if my cost is getting increased and I have a valid proof, and if I have a proof that the cost is being increased due to the increasing price of oil worldwide, let's say for example, or due to inflation, does it controllable factor? Is it controllable factor? No. Can I control? Not at all. Absolutely not. I cannot control this factor. So you should not blame me for the increase in the inflation, because it's something uncontrollable for me. So you should use always controllable factors which are controllable by the organization, which are controllable by the performer, whatever the person under evaluation is. And one more important rule is that proper feedback after the assessment. For example, if you like my services, you should give a positive feedback. That's it. For example, if you don't like my services, you should give a negative feedback. For example, the menu, for example, the feedback from after having the dinner at the restaurant, that's a feedback. Every organization are having the feedback to analyze their performance, and if the feedback will not be given, how would I know that performance is good or bad, or good or underperforming? I should not say bad performance. I should say either good performing or underperforming. Next, take reasonable actions after the measurement. Take reasonable actions after the measurement. Reasonable actions, that is to improve. That is to improve the performance, right? Now the point is that in the examination question, the scenario can be examined where you are supposed to write your answer. You need to comment your answer. You need to comment your answer. And here you go for the comment of the answer. For the comment of the answer, that is how to comment, and how to comment on the answer. That is a very important thing. That's a very important thing, how to comment on the answer. Because if you do not know the drafting style, your answer is half completed and it's not valued. It's not the valuable answer. All right. So you must have a very good, since the length of answer does not matter. Length of answer does not matter. The quality of answer does matter. For example, if a student is typing 10 lines and the content is useless, is not being awarded for the marks. For example, if a student is writing only 6 lines and the quality, the relationship with the case is very much strong, he'll be receiving the full point. That's an important thing. So let's have a suspense on it, how to comment the answer, and this suspense will be will be broken after the short break, because there's the pray time as well, and I need to take 10 to 15 minutes, or you can say it's right now, it's almost 5:26 at my site, or 5:27. I'm making it round off. So I will be back near about 5, sorry, it's 6. It's 6:27 approximately. I will be back at 6:45 or 6:50 p.m. I will be resuming it after 15 to 20 minutes, and I will be teaching you how to comment, and then we will be turning our next side of the probably the question. Okay, so stay connected, do not disconnect. I'm just turning off my mic and my camera. See you after 15 to 20 minutes break. Welcome back from the break. Students, you all are here. Will you people please confirm me? Are you able to see me? Am I audible? My screen, voice, video is all clear to all of you? Please respond in the question box. Everybody, please respond in the question box. All right, that's great. Now that we are moving towards the question, no. First of all, I would like to explain you how to comment on the performance. See that this is the performance. This is the performance which already happened in the past. This is the performance which already happened in the past. All right. Let's say that event is over. Let's say the event is over, right? That event has been done, and you are required to comment on the performance. You are required to comment on the performance, right? You are required to comment on the performance. And how to comment? The comment means that something had happened, and you are supposed to comment on it. Now the good point is that how to comment. You need to comment. That is summarizingly, I can say that summarizingly, right? I will be prepared the summary later on, but here I want to write something that you should write first matter. You should calculate a ratio, I mean percentage, must calculate the percentages, right? Always measure the performance in percentages, and you need to either it is positive or either it is negative, either it is good or underperforming, and you need to link with the case, that is why. You have to write down the reasons. You have to write down the reasons and give at the end concluding words, either good performed or underperformed. But the point to be noticed is that it's underperformed, right? But the point to be noticed is that this thing, that means if I can make the summary, of these things, that you should write what happened, why happened, reasons why. This is the most important thing which students often miss out, fail to write, and they are having then less marks than expected. So you must need to link this with the case study, and remember that must link your answer with the case study. You are not living in the imaginary world. You are not supposed to write in the imagination. You have to link with the case study. You must have to link with the case study. So giving in a summary, that you should write what happened, why happened. Why means give the solid and valid reason, and while writing the reason you should use the word maybe. Do not give the absolute statement. Valid reason, that may be possible. All right, what happened, why happened, whether it is good or underperformed, all right, and give your conclusion. One thing I'm writing expressly, no advice. You are not supposed to give any advice, because it's not the advisory question. You are not the consultant, you are not the advisor, you are the performance assessor. You should write what happened, why happened, whether it is good or underperformed, whatever had happened, and give a solid reason with the case study. That does make sense. Okay, Let's say for example, that I'm a senior one and I am receiving my file from a junior, and I am reading, okay, this part might be happened because of this, analyze, that's it, finish. No advice at all. Is the question is asking you for the advice? No, then keep the advice with you. You are not supposed to give the advice. All right. So you should write down the concluding remarks, whether it is helpful, whatever the information is available in your answer. Yes, you should prove that information is helpful to write the answer. You should not write something. Why? Because the information with the examiner is giving it is helpful. You should write like that way. Yes, it's a helpful information. That means you need to catch the information. You need to take the words. You need to use formal jargon words, not too much jargon words. Write in a simple English, write in a simple plain English. Simple, don't worry. You are not supposed to write in an extraordinary language, but must relate with your case study. You must need to relate with the case study, all right? Because without linking to the case study, your answer seems to be incomplete. You must need to relate with the case study, right? So this is one of the first tasks that student often fail to write, the reason, the solid reason, the valid reason, that may be uh, evidence from the case study. You must need to write that thing. Okay, I am just waiting few seconds. If you people want to note it down, take the picture, whatever you want to do, you are allowed. Now, let's proceed towards the next thing. This is the way how to comment on the matters. I mean, how to comment on the performance. Moving next, showing you with the example. Let's say it is, now use these punchlines. Why this information is available? If this information is not available, this is simple enough. The performance is very good, simple. But why this information is available? By the way, for your clarification, this example I have extracted from one of the ACCA past paper, and the figures written by my own. The information is from the one of the ACCA past paper. Just to tell you people then, and then we will be moving towards the real exam question. All right. So it is saying that a newly established company in the competitive industry sells a product called Beta and reported the following sale results. Sales 5 million, it was increased to 8 million. And remember that must calculate ratios. If I will be saying that my revenue is getting increased by 3 million, that's absolutely right. But by which percentage? You must need to write the percentage, right? If I can say that my $3 million is getting increased, that's very good enough. But you need to take the difference and you need to calculate the percentage. And how to calculate the percentage? That's a very simple technique. Difference divided by old figure, or you can say the comparative figure. And obviously you are assessing this year, sorry, this quarter. You are assessing this quarter, right? You are assessing this quarter. So how to calculate the percentage change? That is difference divided by comparative, or you can say old figure into 100. If I can say that difference is 3 million divided by 5 million into 100, and so my sale is getting increased by 60%. Now that is a very good sign. Now if I can say that this question worth for 2 marks, let's say for example, what you will be writing, you have to use that information, you have to appreciate them, And one more important thing, just go back to this thing. One more important thing. If the performance is good, appreciate them. Please add this thing. If the performance is good, appreciate. If the performance is underperformed, explain the negative impacts. One more important thing, please add it into your drafting style bucket. If your performance is good, then appreciate it. For example, if you like something, then you are naturally appreciating this. If you do not like something, you will have to explain the negative impacts, and the impact should relate to the future. Negative impacts in future. That's a negative impact in the future, right? So you should appreciate it. Why the performance is good, you are already writing it. And if the performance is good, appreciate. Underperform, explain the negative impacts in the future. So I hope that this is now clear. I'm doing it a little zoom more so that you can easily focus on what is exactly written here. Right? So this is the thing you need to write like that way. All right, students. I am now moving towards the continuation of this example. This is the example, and there is no specific reason in this case study. So I will be using my imaginary possible reason. All right, that what may be the possible reason. Now see how I will be drafting my answer over here. I'm simply putting up that sales heading. You should use the headings, right? You should use the headings. So I'm saying that sale revenue is increasing by 60% in Q2, I mean quarter 2, and simultaneously you should show the working. That's 3/5 into 100, bracket close. The sale revenue is increasing by 60% in quarter 2, and this is the impressive performance. Since, yes, you should use the punchline. The business is new. And the industry is the industry is competitive, and still the company is able to handle the increased sales. Now, what may be the possible reason? The case study is not completely given. For example, you will be using your assumed reasons. You can use based on this information, right? But when the exam question will be examined completely, you will be using all the available information, right? So this is that thing, and this is the impressive performance since the business is new and the industry is competitive, and despite of this fact, the sale revenue is increased. Now, sorry, is increased. I have appreciated them. It's not the serial, the above thing which I had written here. This is not the serial. These are the contents that you must use in your answer, so that your answer will look more professional. So I'm saying that it may be possible that quality of the product is accepted by the customers, and yes, and there is a word of mouth. Let's say, for example, Let's say, for example, if I like this product, I can recommend it to others as well. All right, I can recommend this to other as well. So if the quality of a restaurant is good and you have experience there, you would be recommending to others. If you like my teaching, you may be recommending to others as well. All right. So it quite may be possible that the quality of the product is accepted by the customers, and they might recommend it to others. Or it may also be possible. It may also be possible that due to target marketing. Yes, the marketing does not aim to increase the sale, but it may be one of the reason. The aim of marketing or advertisement is to create the awareness of the product, and obviously the awareness may turn into sale. So it quite may be possible, right, that due to target marketing of customers might be attracted, or even the discounted selling price might have attracted customers. All right, either way, either way, I mean, anyways, either way, either way, sorry, either way, the company had used the word outperformed. If it is underperformed, you will be writing the company had underperformed, and you must need to write what can be the negative impacts in the future. Either way, the company had outperformed in this aspect. Simple, my answer is finished. And this is my sales, and I will be using it like the heading. So this is my answer, and this is the drafting kind of style. That what happened, why happened, if it is good, appreciate it, if it is underperform, explain the negative impacts, right? And now end your answer with a great conclusion. So these are simply 3 to 4 or 4 to 5 lines. You do not supposed to write too much. I'm not saying to write too much, but write the quality answer. You must need to go through the examiner answer as well, that what is actually written by the examiner. All right, now let's move ahead. This is yet another example. This is yet another example, and then thereafter we will be moving towards the exam question. Yes, this is yet another example. This is month 1, the last month, and this is month 1, the current month. In the last month, the wastage was 100. I'm hiding one thing. All right, this is not available. Let's say, for example, for instance, because I want you people to think very critically and professionally. If this information is not available, the average person will be saying that the company is not performing well. Why? Because there are 100 kgs wasted and there are 150 kgs wasted. But the average people, the average person, the average assessor would be assuming that the company is not performing well, because he is saying the front line figure. He's seeing, sorry, he's seeing the front line figure. The front line figure is not reliable to judge. There's a very famous saying, do not judge the book through its cover paper. All right, so it's the cover, do not judge the performance. There's a very famous line, don't judge the book through its cover. It's the cover page, and the average assessor would be seeing, the front line, and he may conclude that company is not performing well. Why? Because the increase of wastages. And see that you are not supposed to you are not supposed to assess through the increase in waste. You are supposed to see the increase in wastage rate. Wastage rate, there is a different thing. Now see that, don't compare, don't look. All right, must calculate ratio. Now listen, 100 kgs were wasted from the input, that is 100 over 1250 into 100. What does it mean? It means that 100 over 1250 into 100. So what does it mean? It means that 8% material, 8% is the waste. No waste. I'm writing here. No, it's wastage rate. Yes, it should be the wastage rate. It's not the waste, it should be wastage rate. I'm emphasizing on percentage again and again. So it is 8% wastage, right? Now here 150 over 2500 over 100. What is that percentage? 150 over 2500 into 100. That is 6%. Wastage rate. It's not waste, it's wastage rate. 8%, 6%. You know what? The wastage rate is getting down. The company is performing well. The company is performing well. Whatever you will be writing, you will be appreciating the company. The company is performing very well. All right. The company is performing well. So that is company's performance is improving. That is good. So I'm not writing the thing. That means how to assess. The important point is that must calculate the ratio. Idle time should not be considered as a KPI. It's idle time percentage that should be considered as a KPI, right? So do tell me, students, do you understand this important point? Yes, Fatma Yusuf, I will be uploading this later on. Do you understand this point? Now tell me that everybody, every one of you is in my WhatsApp group, which I have created for you people. Are you all in the WhatsApp group? The link of WhatsApp group will be shared again. The link of WhatsApp group will be shared again. It quite may be possible that thank you so much, Shahid Hamid, from your for your valued feedback. Thank you so much. All right. Now this WhatsApp group link will also be shared again. So if you are not there, you must join this WhatsApp group. I will be uploading this annotated file. When I'm writing on something, that means it's annotated file. So the annotated file will be uploaded. Don't you people worry about it. Yes, Javeri Akil, it will be shared. It will be shared. Yes, please wait a minute. All right. The link had been shared. Okay. The link had been shared. You can join the WhatsApp group. Now I am proceeding towards the next one. The last thing for this slide, and then I will have to move to the question. Point to be noted is that calculate the logical ratios. Must compare with the comparator, because without comparison your answer is incomplete. You have to compare. Calculate cost to sale ratio for the items which are affected by activity like sales, distribution cost and variable cost. For these kind of cost, you need to calculate, that is cost to sale ratio. That is cost to sale ratio. That what is the cost in relation to the sale. For example, there is a delivery or the distribution cost. If the sale is getting increased, that distribution cost should also be increased accordingly, right? So you must need to calculate the cost to sale ratio. Now, one important thing is that we have got different models to assess the performance. We have got different models to assess the performance. Assess the performance. Number, there are different models, right? There are different frameworks. One is the balance scorecard. One is the building block model. Another one is the value for money. All right. It has got 6 dimensions. It has got 3 E's and it has got 4 perspectives. So there are different models to assess the performance. So I am going to solve the question. We are going to discuss the question and let's see which kind of a question is that. And so we will be, I'm actually taking from the past paper. To some extent, it's the most recent past paper, right? I'm giving the sincere advice, whatever the paper you are attempting, whether it is PM, PX, FR, AA, FM, whatever the paper you are appearing, must solve at least recent past papers. Recent past paper means which are available on the ACCA practice platform, the most recent ones, 3 to 4 attempts, so that you will be able to understand which kind of and what kind of requirements are being examined, what are the testing style of the examiner, and so you will be able to sense and analyze which kind of complexity is being examined currently. All right, so that you'll be able to make a forecast, but do not make the forecast of the selected topics, right? You need to go through the entire case study and entire course, sorry, you need to go through the entire course. Don't pick up these selected topics, but whatever you are solving, solve it through a deeper understanding mind. All right, no need to have a rote learning kind of thing. You must need to apply that skills. Now it's done, and so I will be closing this files which are not being used currently, closing these files which are not being used currently, and closing this as well. I'm now using ACCA practice platform. I have shared these results for your motivation that they are also human being. If these two students can achieve the nationwide first position, they are my student, and these are also some other results, good results. If they can achieve, you can also achieve. You are good enough. You are good because you have cleared your knowledge module. So I always share the motivated results. I do not spread the negative information that this paper is challenging. And yes, it is challenging to some extent. But the simple point is that if they can do, you can also do. All the thing is your positive mindset, be optimist, and you can do. My prayers are always with all of my students. You will be doing that. All right, now let's go to the practice platform, and I'm opening the question with the perspective to solve it. You people might be aware of this thing. All right, I've actually already assigned here. I've actually already assigned here. That is yes, March June 2021. March June 2021. It is the, yes, Medcom is a charity based in Sealand. I hope you people can view the screen. Okay, I am adjusting it and doing it a little zoom so that you people can read this question at least thoroughly. All right. Is it now readable? All of you students, please tell me, can you read this thing? Can you read this information in this on the screen? All right, all right. This is part A. First of all, first of all, see that this information worth 16 marks. Very important. For each perspective of balance scorecard, select an appropriate critical success factor which relates to the perspective. Suggest one KPI, key performance indicator, and analyze the performance. In the balance scorecard, the question is of balance scorecard, right? In the balance scorecard, there are 4 different perspectives. Note, use the balance scorecard template provided below to structure your answer. This is the thing. I'm doing it a little zoom out. This is my balance scorecard template. This is financial. I will have to type something over here. KPI, performance analysis. If you will be moving down, scroll down, that's customer perspective, internal business process, and learning and growth. Simply the template is provided, and for everything, you should relate. Now, one important thing, CSF, critical success factor, which relate to each perspective. Now for that thing we have to read this information. The question is not too much, the question is not containing too much information. This is a scratch pad, you already know, for rough working kind of thing. But since you can also use your calculator here, use a calculator available here to calculate something, right? If for the ratios. So let's now first, I think we had done with this kind of a requirement. Now we need to read the case study. All right, we need to read the case study. I'm doing it a little zoom. All right. Medcom is a charity based in Sealand. Let's read it together. Medcom company is a charity based in Sealand. It provides medical treatment to prevent and cure blindness caused by cataracts to thousands of people in less developed countries. This is a charity based organization, and you all know that charity is being run through donations. This disease is relatively easy to cure when the treatment is available. That means that this disease is able to be recovered, but the majority of the people who need that treatment cannot afford to pay for it, because this is the question for underdeveloped areas, underdeveloped countries. There's a eye blindness. The treatment is available, but the people cannot afford it. For over 10 years, Medcom has provided free treatment from 12 treatment centers based in fixed locations worldwide. They have their fixed location. Now see that this is a very simple introduction of the company, the charity-based company. Try to understand the nature of the business or the nature of the question. This is not the business, by the way. This is a charity organization, not for profit. But one thing I'm saying that whatever the organization is being running in the question, it should also be running in your mind. You have to imagine, you have to imagine, go into that particular organization in your imagination, that what kind of an activity might be going on. So feel this like a practical thing, you may be able to write it. I can just guide you and teach you, and you have to perform it, right? Okay, so the treatment is available. They are operating from 12 treatment centers. Medcom company employs a small number but paid permanent staff. See that, observe me as well. I am highlighting each and every information. Who consist of medical practitioners, medical administrators, and fundraisers. But majority of the workforce is voluntary. Practitioners does not mean who are on the articleship, or on the practitioner means the one who is in real practice. I am teaching since 2011. I'm teaching this thing from 2011, the paper PM as well. And I am the practitioner. I'm the tutor. I'm the practitioner, right? So the practitioner means the one who is in practice. The charity has built relationship with several teaching hospitals. Teaching hospitals. In many of the countries, there are colleges and simultaneously the hospital, so that students are able to learn in a practical manner, from where it recruits newly qualified doctors and nurses. These doctors and nurses volunteer to work unpaid for a year in Medcom treatment before returning home work in one of the Seal and Many hospitals. Medcom believes that using newly qualified medical staff, newly qualified, if someone is new, whether he or she is a pilot, whether he or she is a tutor, whether he or she is a doctor, if someone is new after completing the qualification, carries a risk itself for the any kind of error, right? Now the point is that newly qualified medical staff will promote the use of most effective and up-to-date techniques and procedures. If you go back in the traditional manner, the operations or the medical facilities are used to be provided in a traditional way, but as far as the technology is getting improved, so the operations are getting much more easier nowadays. All right, so they believe that using the newly qualified medical staff will provide up-to-date techniques and procedures. Financial donations are sourced from large businesses. Yes, they are arranging the donation from large businesses in Sealand, and most of the equipment and other medical supplies needed are donated by hospital and manufacturers. The money is getting raised from the businesses. The equipments are being arranged from hospital and directly from the manufacturers. Thus, it is rare for the treatment center to run short of supplies. It's rare. I mean, very less chance, right? Medcom company keeps account with the year 31st August as well as detailed operating data. Data extracts from its management accounts for the year 2008, 2018, 17 and 16. That means 6, 7 and 8. These are the financial data. These are the numerical data. I should use the word numerical data. And at the last, new procedures are procedures which are introduced within the year. Medcom is about to introduce balanced scorecard to help implement the strategy and measure the performance. The critical success factor have been identified: positive cash flow, innovation, medical effectiveness, and functional efficiency. You must need see that these critical success factors have been identified, and you just need to there are four critical success factors. There are four critical success factors identified, and you need to relate it. Which critical success factor is for which perspective in the balance scorecard? All right. So just see that. Just go through this numerical data, and I'm giving you 1 or 2 minutes. You know for what? Just play with the figures, calculate the ratios, whatever the ratio is coming in your mind. There is a very free hand. Students, one thing I would like to say, please listen it very carefully. I observe few of the students, or some of, because there is a very diversity, there are every kind of people. Some students do not even try by themselves. You know what? They are waiting for the tutors, then tutors will be teaching. My belief is that if any teacher will be solving hundred of question in the classroom that has been solved by the tutor, and the student will be saying, yes sir, you are right, that's a simple thing, that's natural, if you are understanding, assuming if you are understanding. But what if the students are not trying by themselves? For example, you didn't even try, so you will be in a suspense that whether you are able to handle the question or not. So my important message is that whatever the question or paper you are attempting, must try by yourself. Don't worry, do the mistake. I love mistake because mistakes are the reason, or it is a source of learning. It's a source of learning, right? So take it as a positive aspect. I do not spread the negativity. I am giving you the true and fair picture. The decision maker, you are the decision maker, right? So one thing I say, just do the thing. If your things goes well, appreciate yourself. If your thing, if your calculated answer is not correct, accept that fact and see that it's my mistake, and congratulations, you have got the opportunity to learn. So students do not try, they are waiting that I will be insulted. There is no insult. Okay, there is no insult, it's a matter of learning. So I am giving you 1 minute window or 2 minute window. I'm here, I'm sitting in front of you. Even I cannot watch you people, you are doing or not, but be honest with your studies. These are the things, right? These are the figures. Now what you have to do, I'm guiding you. Take it as a positive, take it as a positive thing. These are something written: operating costs, treatment, donations. Can I say one simple thing? These are the numerical figures. Just try to relate which kind of ratio is being calculated. Do not relate with the perspective in the balance scorecard, either financial, customer. No, not at all. Just calculate the ratio of any 1 year. Start. But must calculate more than one ratios, right? Note it down and keep it separate. Now I will be solving it. Now, considering the availability of time, I must ask you to stop and try to solve this thing. Please stop, all of you. This is the thing, positive cash flow. These are critical success factor: cash flow, innovation, medical effectiveness, and functional efficiency, right? Now allow me to adjust the screen. You know, positive cash flow. Positive cash flow is obviously the critical success factor for financial perspective. So I'm writing that the critical success factor, not factory, it's factor, for this perspective is positive cash flow, which is appropriate from the available CSFs, right? Simply I wrote it simple. Now, what is the KPI, key performance indicator? I'm going to this thing. It is not the profitable. If it would be the profitable organization, you know what I was supposed to write? I will be writing gross profit margin, net profit margin, right? And it is the donations. The charity is being run through donations, and the donation is that how many what amount I am earning from donation, and what is the operating cost, and the net result is the surplus or deficit. So this is the average size of donation, $500, and number of donation is 2950. It's a total operating cost. It's a new procedure, and these are all non-financial information. So I must calculate what's the KPI. The KPI is that net profit margin. If it would be the profitable organization, definitely it would be the net profit margin, right? It would be the net profit margin. So here is that the most appropriate KPI from the information would be the net profit. No, don't use the word net profit. Use the word surplus or deficit. Would be the net surplus slash deficit. All right. That is sales. No sales. That is donations less operating costs. Simple. I have written it down. Now this is the performance analysis. Now, while writing the performance analysis, you should use the words, you should use your calculations, and you should try to comment. You should try to comment, right? You should try to comment. And if I can say that performance analysis, you should, what KPI you have suggested, the net surplus or deficit. So I need to calculate it, right? I need to calculate it. Performance analysis. I'm writing here 20x6, and that is 500 multiplied by 2950 bracket close minus the operating cost 1430. So write like that way. You should calculate it. I am writing and I will be commenting it. That's 500 multiplied by 2950 minus 1430, and that is 14 500 into that's 45,000, right? Because it is in triple zero. So it's triple zero. What's the figure? That is 45,000. That is the net surplus. So you can use the word surplus at the end. Surplus at the end. Similarly, 20x7, 20x7, that is 535, 535 multiplied by it's 3000 minus 1550000 is equal to, that is $55,000, that is surplus. It's 20x8, that is 600 multiplied by 2850 minus 1730000, and that is the $20,000 deficit. Now see that financially there is a surplus, there are surplus in the last 2 years, and see that number of donors, number of donations are getting, donations are getting reduced. In the last year it was 2950, then it was increased, and now it is decreased. So definitely, but the size of the donation is getting increased. That is, the number of donors are getting reduced. That it quite may be possible that donation are being received from the more rich businesses because they are taking the money, and it does not mean, and see that it does not mean that this organization would be facing a going concern problem. You just have to put your arguments that why it was happened. All right, why it was happened. So this is showing that Medcom company, this is showing that Medcom company is not achieving its financial target this year, but it does not mean, you are simply saying that it does not mean that this charity would be facing the going concern problem. It does not mean that it would be facing the going concern problem. It can be observed that number of donors are getting reduced, but the size of the donations are getting increased, and it can be said that more donations are, and you can, if you can compare with the revenues as well, the revenue of this year might be increasing because of the size of increasing the the amount of increasing, the donations are getting increased, and because more donations are received from the rich businesses. However, from the first year of deficit, it cannot be said that charity is having the real problem. In future it can be better analyzed. If the charity is receiving less donations in the first year, it does not mean that it would be receiving in the future as well. So in future it can be better analyzed, but whatever the information is available, I had written it down. All right, so this is simply the way to analyze the performance. Whatever the KPI you had written, you should explain it, and this is the CSF, right? Now the next CSF is innovation. Now for the customer, which KPI should be better? Customer is my patients, and for patient, innovation no, medical effectiveness no. Medical effectiveness is your internal process. Yes, but functional efficiency is your internal process. Medical effectiveness, effectiveness. The patient would be impressed by your medical facility. Yes, I'm being treated very well. So CSF is the valid CSF for this perspective is likely to be the medical effectiveness. Simply write like that way. All right, simply write like that way. And from this available table, which KPI? No, Naval Mushtaq, you don't need to calculate the ratio like that way which you asked. Simply like that way, simply. Which KPI is much more better from the customer perspective? See that what customer wants from the hospital. Customer wants treatment? No. Customer wants successful treatments. And here it is written number of successful treatments. It is written that number of treatments performed, and number of successful treatments. So you need to calculate the ratio, right? So the appropriate KPI, for this aspect is likely to be the number of successful treatments. And you know what, you had written down number of successful treatments, so you must need to calculate the ratio of it. That is successful. If 4600 patients were treated and 4002 patients were successfully recovered, 4002 divided by 4600 multiplied by 100, that is 87%. It's 87% successful rate. So I am writing here the ratio of successful treatments are as follows: 20x6, that is 4002 divided by 4600 into 100, that is 87%. 20x7, it was 4300 divided by 5000, right? 4300 divided by 5000, sorry, it is that is 86%. It's declining, and 4312, 20x8, that's 4312 divided by 5600 multiplied by 100. All right, that's 4312 divided by 5600 multiplied by 100, that's 77%. Now you can say that hospital is not performing well, its performance is getting deteriorated, and it's not in the 1 year. Previously it was reduced by 1 percentage point, and now it is being reduced with a greater percentage proportion, that is 9 percentage point. So it can be said that your performance is being deteriorated. Now what is the possible reason? It quite may be possible that I can give you the practical example. There were flu to the people. That's a normal flu. But in the year 2020, the flu named as COVID-19, that was the most dangerous year for the world. And then it quite may be possible that this disease may become more serious. It quite may be possible. And one more important thing is that new procedures, which are in new procedures, that's new procedures as a percentage of total procedure, 5, 5 and 20, it quite may be experiment may result in success, or experiment may result in failure as well. It quite may be the possible reason. So I'm just writing these reasons and simply concluding my answer for this performance analysis. So I'm saying that the successful treatment is getting deteriorated by 9 percentage point from 20x7 in the year 20x8, despite of the fact that previously it was deteriorated by just 1 percentage point. And this may be, now first I'm writing the reason, right? It may be possible that the disease may become more serious, or it may be possible that new procedures introduced were not proved to be effective. Now explain the negative impact in the future. This may become the reason of poor image of the hospital, poor image of the medical services, which should be looked into with the intention to investigate and resolve the problem. In the future. Simply, this is not the advice. See that this is not the advice. This is just the argument that this should be looked into. Now, how to look will become the advice. All right. Now, next turn is of the internal business process. The internal business process is the functional efficiency. Because if I will be efficient, that means I am performing well. The appropriate KPI for this would be the functional efficiency. Now, based on the availability of the information, the functional efficiency would definitely be average number of days taken to deliver drug and equipment to treatment centers. So the most that how quickly they are. So that means the average time is the lead time that is constant. The performance is not good, not bad. The performance is constant. Now see how I will be writing. The KPI, then the appropriate KPI could be the average number of days to measure the functional efficiency. Now, performance analysis. What is the performance analysis, by the way? The performance analysis is that it has remained constant. It is written that there is a rare shortage of the resources, right? It is written that there is a rare shortage of resources over there. So it quite may be possible that 7 days is maybe the standard lead time. So it was 7. So that means the treatments are going on and on and on. It needs to be looked whether these 7 days are enough, and the better performance can be judged in future when this number of days would be changed. If something is constant, that means the performance is all right. That means the logistical activities are managed very efficiently. The average number of delivery days are constant, that is 7 days, and mentioned that there is a rare shortage of supplies, and so standard days might be 7 and it is well managed, and so efficiency currently is at efficiency currently is at required level if 7 days are standard, and a better performance can be judged in the future when this would change. But the good news is that the days are not even getting increased. I will be adding this line. I will be adding line here. The plus point is that these days are not getting deteriorated. All right, the plus point is that, the important point is that. So I had noted it down for this thing. Let's move ahead quickly towards the last thing because we are having shortage of time right now, and I hope that you are understanding this performance analysis. Now the next point is that obviously the next one is the innovation. The next one is the innovation. Now the critical success factor would be the innovation because it's a learning and growth. Now the CSF for this perspective is likely to be the innovation, and based on this, based on this information, what should be the KPI? The KPI is the number of new procedures, this is the thing, and they are 5 and 20%. Note, number of procedures, number of new procedures as a percentage of total. All right, so the important KPI, or use the word most appropriate, the most appropriate KPI would be new procedures as a percentage of total procedures. Now it is already mentioned over here. Can you people please take 1 minute to think what may be the performance analysis, what would be the impact? If I can conclude that number of new procedures are introduced more in 2008, that's the plus point, but they are not supposed to be effective because I have written it down. I have written it down that the customer perspective, it quite may be possible that these new procedures um, are not proving well for the patient's recovery. So this needs the strong investigation. I will have to write this thing. Okay, so it is from the available information, it is clear that number of new procedures as a percentage of total, were 20% in 20x8, much more than the previous years, and that is the appreciating efforts. But point to be noted is that those new procedures might not be proved well for the medical effectiveness as a deterioration in the successful treatment had been observed, which is the important aspect to monitor, and it should be investigated that whether new procedures are enough for the recovery. Now this needs to be monitored. So what I have written that performance analysis. Now students, I need your strong participation here. Do you people understand how to comment on it? Do you people understand? Please leave a neutral and independent opinion. Do you understand? Please give your feedback. Feedback is a fuel for the performer. All right. Now, one more important thing. This part 2, you will be performing part 2 by yourself. And with all my best wishes and positive vibes, remember, you are good. You can do it. Okay. Now, see you tomorrow. Have a good night, good evening. Bye bye. Take care of yourself. Thank you very much.